Good morning, everybody. Another amazing day with Amud Yomi Shiur Ein Zayin Amud Aleph Metzia. Let's go. Ein Zayin Amud Aleph. As you said, it's Oz. Oz. A lot of power over here. Thank you, everybody here in Avas Shalom B'Shemesh. Torah anytime and YouTube. Join us for Amud Yomi. We are in Omar Mar Chalshi. The line starts with the word Chalshi. Yeah, here Omar Mar. Yeah, you have it. Ein Zayin Amud Aleph. Good. So Ein Zayin Amud Aleph, that's 70. And this year's Little Nishmas of Imar Menachem and Akiva, Hen Yerei Shabbos, Elchon and Yitzchok, and Lerefu As Chaim Ben Sete, and Lebas Tomo, and Lerefu As Chana Bat Sima, Velerefu As Chaim Ben Sete, Velerefu As Aviva Bas Dvera, Lerefu As Naama Bas Rachel. We said, we just got to go. Let's go. So I'm not going to give any introductions because this is on the heels of yesterday's shiur. What we're going to do now is basically the Gemara is going to break apart and analyze each and every part of the brisa. But a long brisa, the brisa discussed all kinds of situations in which either workers or an employer changed the conditions or just didn't show up. So the Brisa is going to break it to pieces. Every segment here is basically interpreting and explaining another part of the Brisa that we saw in the previous Amud. Okay, so that's pretty clear. Okay, Amama, Shamin Lemis Masha Osu. The story that we had, in Shamin Lemis Masha Osu is that, let's say, Umnin that are Kablonim. Umnin that are Kablonim, they're getting paid not per hour, they get paid per job, right? And Uman Kablan, stopped and just said, I'm going home after one day's work. In other words, let's say I got someone to come to my house and sew a dress for my wife, okay? Or a suit for myself. Very nice. Now, I'm sorry, I forgot the tie. So then what happens? I'm telling the guy, you get, let's say, 2 sloim. Yeah, let's say in today's terms would be, I don't know, let's say 1,000 shekels, right? 500 shekels he did on Sunday. Sunday night, I'm getting a call. I'm not coming. He's not coming to do the second day's job. Okay. Then what about the other 500? Yeah, what's going to be? Says the Gemara, Shamin lemismasha osu. Ketzad. In other words, Tanakama believes that if people stood him up and didn't show up after one day's work, after they not one day's work, after completing half the job, part of the job, they still get full payment for what they did. Meaning, Ketzad, how is that? Those people, they are now owed 1 selah because originally the agreement was I'm supposed to give them 2 sloim in order to sew the entire dress. They did half a dress, that's 1 selah. That's not a chiddush. Elamai, I now have to look for other people to sew the other half. And you know what? The other people are asking for 6 dinorim. 1 selah contains how many dinorim, my friends? You should know that. 4, very good. They're asking for a selah and a half. Noisen lahem selah, which means that the original people are still going to get the full selah for the half a job. And the new people are now willing to work for higher. Maybe the prices went higher, by the way. That's what it sounds like. It's 1.5. Who's going to absorb the loss of, instead of me setting aside a budget of 2 sloim, I'm ending up paying 2 sloim and a half? I have to absorb the difference. Why? It's not fair. Why did they leave me in the lurch, high and dry, Gumtree? Why is that? Kasabri Rabbanon. Rabbanon think Yad Poila Lelyoino. Rabbanon believe very much in what we call today workers' rights, workers' union, like in England. Yeah. In other words, the idea is, it says in the Torah, last week's parsha, Kili Bnei Yisrael Avodim. Hashem says Bnei Yisrael are my slaves, and they're not the slaves of anybody else. Avodahem v'lo avodim la'avodim. A person cannot be a slave for anybody else. Now, says Toysus in Daf Yud, it's many, many moons ago, in Metzia Daf Yud, he says, the mere fact that a person is tied to a contract and cannot leave work in the middle of a contract, that smells, that is a certain aspect of slavery. Even if he's treated very nicely. and they let him do whatever he wants, whatever. He's very nice, whatever. They treat him great and they give him holidays and a nice coffee room and they call him Mr. and so and so. But the mere fact that the person is subjugated to the boss and he cannot leave in the middle of the workday, that is one aspect of slavery. And therefore, Chazal believe, Rabbanan believe, that because what those people did may not be nice, but is allowed halachically, they don't have to absorb the difference. It's very strong workers' rights, in other words. They can leave job in the middle and get paid for whatever they did, regardless of the indirect loss that is now caused to the balabais when I have to pay more for the other people. That is what Chachami believe. As we know, that's not the halacha, there's another opinion. But this is what Chachamim hold, the Rabbanon. Now we continue to read the Brisa and explain each part of the Brisa, each segment, and we say, O yigmer melachtan v'itlu shnei sloim. The other option is, I tell them, listen guys, yeah, you want to get your 2 sloim, keep working, finish the dress, finish the job, finish the whatever, and get 2 sloim. The question is, Pshita, of course. What do you mean? Obviously, the original agreement was 2 sloim. If they finish the job, they'll get 2 sloim. What's the chiddush? What's the Brisa telling me over here? Yeah, what's going on? Answers the Gemara, no, tzricha. There is a chiddush. What's the chiddush? What's the kimta of the Brisa? The Aikar Avidata. Imagine yourself the following story. Aikar Avidata means that the going rate for this kind of job became expensive in the middle of their project. Sunday, they came to my house, believing they're going to get for an entire dress to sew how much? 2 sloim. Sunday night, they go home in order to come back tomorrow Monday to continue the other half of the dress. Now, what? Sunday night, big news all over, online, in the news, in the media. Oh, the prices, it's official. The price, the going rate for people who sew dresses, for the seamstresses, the tailors, became higher. Now people charge more, and that's the going rate. Now, what do? Continues this story. The imru poyalim. Imru here means they departed, which is like hamra'a, like to depart, yeah? Imru poyalim means the poyalim all of a sudden are playing games. The Baal Bais gets a WhatsApp saying, we're not coming to work. We're not coming to work. Why? Because now, why should we work with the old price? We are frayerim. Why should we come on Monday to continue the old price? We know now that prices went up, so we're not coming, and they have the right to do so. Because Rabbanon always back the poilim, the workers, yeah? And you know what happened? The Ozab Labais upaisinu. The Labais came and Rashi says, begged them. Paisinu basically, here but tachanunim, Monday and Thursday, tachanunim. Yeah, he basically begged them to come back. Oh, please, please, it's a chasana. Now, when he begged them, although he didn't mention money, but everybody knows that money is there in the background because everybody knows that they did not depart. They didn't stop and started playing up and playing games because they don't like the color of his eyes. Why did they do that? Because they want more money. So if he's begging and asking, he probably wants to now pay them more, pay them the current price. Oh, and now they have the right to do that, says Rashi, because we always are for the workers. One would have said, Matsu Amrule, maybe they can tell him, to the Balabais, the Poilim can tell Balabais, and you know why we agreed to come, we were appeased and agreed to come. Adaited the Tofas Lana Agra. Tofas, you should add. Yeah, we thought you're going to add to our salary. It's true you didn't say it, but maybe the context shows we know that there's, an upping in the price. We were playing games and you were okay. Maybe it means you're going to give us more, so now pay us more. So don't give us 2 sloim. Maybe at the end of the project on Tuesday, when we're finished, give us 2.5 or whatever is the new price. Mash Malan, we come and we say no. The Brisa says no. The Omer Lehu, he tells them, he may be able to tell them, Adaita de tarachna lechu ba'achila v'shtia. In other words, it's true. The money is involved, and I understand you didn't come back for nothing. But who said you came for more money? Maybe I meant, and that is really what I meant, they'll give you now the foods and the drinks. You always have the issue, lunch on you, lunch on the Balabais. In other words, on Sunday you brought your sandwiches from home. Monday I meant that I'm going to give you more food. I'll host you. That's what I meant, but not all new salary, because at the end of the day, it wasn't verbally spoken about, right? Since verbally we didn't mention it, yeah, an upping of the maskayers of the salary, Imela, with all due respect to workers' rights, even that has its limitations, and we say they're not supposed to get higher price. That's the chiddush of what? They originally went for 2 sloim, At the end of the day, with all the tribulations in the middle, they still end up with 2 sloi, but it's definitely a chiddush. Okay. What? Yeah, nobody tricked him. What, he tricked them? No, he did. Nobody tricked nobody. No, he didn't promise the money. He tricked them. No, he didn't trick them. He didn't promise the money. He said, "Please, please come. I need you. Please come. Oh, you're gonna save my life. My daughter's getting married in a week. I'm crazy. Da 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 da. My second cousin has pneumonia. Please. Oh yeah. I had a difficult childhood. I don't know what he told him. He didn't say money. It's understood maybe from the context. No, nobody tricked. No. Kamash Malan, since money wasn't mentioned, it wasn't mentioned. Again, Sela noisen lem sela. Oh, another simple thing. Let's say that the second guys came. The first people, what did they do? Leave him high and dry. How much did they do? They did half the job. 2 divided to 2 is 1. Even I know that. I'm not so good in math, But 1 seller, they did half the job. They get 1 seller. Pshita, what's the big chiddush over here? Yeah, well, what's the news? Loy, tzricha, another chiddush. Oh, now that's a little bit more tricky. Let's follow. It's not difficult. Dizal avidata miikora. Originally, the work was when he told them 2 sloim, work was cheaper, which means originally people who sew dresses or whatever they do, they don't take, let's say for half a job, let's break the job into halves because they left halfway through. So originally, people who sew half a dress or per half a dress, they take not 1 sela, they take a sela minus zuz. How much is a sela minus 1 zuz? Zuz is dinar, by the way. Zuz is dinar is the same thing. That's Torah and that's Chazal. Zuz is dinar. Don't get confused. Don't let anybody confuse you. And shekel is 2 zuzim or 2 dinarim, which is half a sela. Right? 1 sela contains 4 dinarim / zuzim. Okay. Normally, people take 3/4 of a sela, which is how many zuzim? 3, of course. So now that was the going rate. Mikara originally on Motzei Shabbos, when I shopped around and asked for prices, and I hired those guys, then the going rate was 3/4 of a sela. The agrinu betfei zuza. I gave them, the agreement was, these people are expensive. There's a question in the Rishonim whether they knew it and the bedafka take more, or they just are not aware. Lemaisa, they say, we're taking zuz. Either they're saying, I'm expensive. Some people like this, right? I'm more expensive. You want to get the regular guy from the market? Okay, I take more. I take an entire sela. Or maybe there's another explanation. They took sela, they just knew in town, they didn't know the standards. But Lamaisa, they were offered the minimum salary plus a zuz. Okay, right? Whatever people take plus 1 zuz, which is a sela. Well, Lesaif, I karavidita. Oh, all the way in the second day, on the second day of their work, all of a sudden what happened? The market prices went up, as we said before, yeah. They come betfei zuza. All of a sudden, everybody around, every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every normal person takes an entire sela because the minimum salary, the regular salary, became now, instead of 3/4 of a sela, 1 zuz more, an entire sela. What before was their custom service became regular standard. It became standard that everybody takes 1 zuz. Oh, now what's the chiddush that they take 1 zuz? Now they stopped halfway through, right? They stopped at that point, yeah? They don't want to go come anymore. What's the chiddush that they get 1 sela? Now the tema, one could have suggested Amri le tfei zuza. Now the tema, Amri le, excuse me. One could have said that they can tell him, the workers to the balabais, tfei zuza amartlan, tfei zuza havlan. That's very sticky. Maybe because they have the right of what? Kilibin Israel avodim. They have workers' right. Listen to their interesting havamin of the workers. We're not supposed to get sela. You promised us not 1 sela. You promised us whatever everybody else takes. It's a formula. Plus a zuz. Before ends, it was 3/4 was the standard. Plus 1 zuz is sela. Now every time they can ever take a sela, we want sela in a quarter. Get it? That's a very interesting chakira here. He says, listen, I promised sela, I'll give you sela. They say, no, you promised us minimal salary plus a zuz. Now the minimum went up. Whoop, the graph went up to 1 sela. So now give us the same formula of sela plus a quarter. So we don't want sela now. We want to sell in a quarter. It's a very interesting way of thinking. But maybe Libnei Israel Avodim, maybe that mindset of what? workers' rights, maybe you go all the way there of reformulating the idea that way. Mashmalana, oh, the Chiddush, no, the Omer Lehu, you can't go that way. That's not the right way, to look at it. He can tell them, Ki Amr Lechutfei Zuza, you know, when I told you that you're supposed to get one zuz more, the lo havakim lechu, you did not know. The Meforshim L'Shulchan Aruch say you are not aware of the minimal salary. Yeah, it's not true. You said we're looking for Sela. I had one Sela available. That's my budget. We spoke about Sela. You didn't know about the standard and the minimum. You spoke about Sela, which happens to be more. Hashta kimlechu. Now you guys got smart. Now you looked into the market prices. You said, you went up. Now you want to be smart with me and say, hey, you know what? Let's not be frayerim. No, everybody else takes a Sela. Let's take more. That new idea, you only think about it now because now you realize that prices went up, so you're playing that game. But there was an original operate, the original agreement. The agreement was the Sela. I'll stick to Sela, but that's a Chiddush. So what's the Chiddush of promising Sela and giving Sela? They cannot play games and say, we're always offered more than the minimum, which will now become Sela plus. That they cannot say. And that is the Chiddush because we have our limitation to how much we believe in what? In Poel, Choizer Boy, in Poel having the rights, what we call in Lashon HaKodesh, Yad Poel Al Ha'Elyoino. That's really the right word. The Poel is always has the upper hand. Rabbi Doisa Oimer. Up until now was Chachomim. Chachomim, what do they believe in? They believe in Yad Poel Al Elyoino. Chachomim believe that Yad Poel, meaning the one who works, is allowed to leave in the middle of the day, right? Okay. And also, I would have thought maybe all kinds of other agreements that we don't say. Yad Poel Al Elyoino means nobody is enslaving anybody. And even if you're a kablan, even if you are a project worker working for project, you're allowed to leave the job in the middle of the day, and the Baal Habayis should be aware of it. You should know that that's halacha. Comes another opinion. Rabbi Doisa. We're now quoting from the Brisa Rabbi Doisa. Rabbi Doisa Oimer. Rabbi Doisa argues on Tanakama and says, Shamin lenismas she'osid le'osois. When I promised them 2 Sela, same story. After 1 Sela, half a job, I get an SMS from them. What? I don't have SMS, but let's say, somebody gets an email saying, sorry, we're not coming tomorrow. Libnei Solavadim, don't enslave us. We don't care about the dress being halfway through. And by the way, let me ask you a trick question, and it's not a joke now. When is the chasana that the dress is meant to be, where the dress is meant to be worn? Tonight or in 3 months' time? It doesn't make a difference. Yes. What? If the chasana is in 3 months' time, 4 months' time, it's enough time to sew 20 dresses, then everything we're talking about now is true. Yeah? I have time to look for other people, and we can discuss things in a civil manner and say, yeah, they absorb the loss, I absorb the loss, and the difference is not that great. If the chasana is tonight, and it's a dover oved, which other seamstress is going to come now, then I will chop any seamstress, even one who charges 20,000. I believe there are such, yeah. And Mimela, and who's going to pay the 20,000? They will, yeah, because it's dover ovid. That's something else. But that's not the story now. The story now is I have enough time to look for other people. V'chule v'chule. Says Rabbi Doisa. Oimer. Shomi lenis ma she'osid le'osois. Rabbi Doisa says we don't always pay them whatever they were promised. We have to look at the global big picture of what's supposed to happen from now on. Which means, Hoyo Yofi Shisha Dinarim Noisenlem Shekel. That's what it means. Which means same story, different halacha. I owe them 1 shekel. Okay, they left me in the middle. I'm not happy. Then what? I call other people. Let's say 2-3 days. They say, okay, we're coming for how much? Sela and a half. We charge more. Who's going to absorb the loss? According to Rabbi Doisa, they, the poelim. Rabbi Doisa is not so much for what? Says the Gemara Kasava Yad Poel Ala Tachtoino. What does it mean you give them 1 shekel? How much is a shekel? Half a dinar. Half a sela. Because I had to pay a sela and a half to the new guys. The Baal Habayis, I don't have to suffer because of your, shenanigans. I don't have to suffer because of your shtuyot and what? And I have to pay at the end of the day 2.5 sloim. That's not my budget. Who's going to absorb the loss of half a sela, which is 1 shekel? Who? the original poilim left him high and dry, and they're going to get half a selah, which is 1 shekel, which is 2 dinarim. That'll get half, and I will only pay the original amount that I planned on paying. How much? 2 sloim, and the 1.5 goes to the new guys, and the old guys who are not beseder, they will not get the entire selah, they'll get half a selah. Okay, so now, oh, you are good. The entire story here, and we're going to touch on it very soon. The entire story is as Kablan. The entire story from beginning to end in this particular sugya is a Kablan. It's sewing a dress, it's making a cake, whatever it is, whatever, mowing the grass, whatever it is, it's per project, not per hour. To be continued. The whole story is about a Kablan, and soon we'll see the story. Kasova, Rabbi Doisa believes Yad Pala Latachtoino. That's a big chiddush. Rabbi Doisa believes that a poil is not allowed to do whatever he wants. Now, we are ignoring the fact, the differences now between the poil and the kablan. We'll touch on it later. But the Meister right now, what the Gemara thinks is that Rabbi Doisa just doesn't believe in those, poil the poil has the lower hand. The poil cannot leave the balabais, the boss, the employer, in the middle of the workday, high and dry, and say goodbye. No, it doesn't work like that. And if you did, then nobody's going to hit you, nobody's going to force you. But if you did leave in the middle, you'll get paid for what you did. But if there's a loss caused because of that, you, Mr. Poil, will absorb the loss. Okay? We'll touch about Kablan and Poil soon. Oi, now we are continuing to read the Braisa Ledivrei Rabbi Doisa. What is the other option? Of course, be good children and get a prize. If you guys will finish your job and finish the other half of the dress, you'll get the original 2 slime that you were promised. Of course. Pshita. Same question again. What's the chiddush? Oh, the answer now is going to be the exact mirror image, the exact other side of the coin of the answer we said before about chachomim. Loi tzricha. There is a chiddush here. Not just the other way around from before. The zal avidata. Originally, every normal person, every regular seamstress in the market gets how much? The going rate was 3/4 of a selah. Okay, it was 3/4. How many is 3/4 of a selah? Help me. 3 zuzim. 3 zuzim is the going rate. Go online, go to the paper, go to the Misrad Mischar, whatever. It's 3/4. That's the normal. Okay, that was the normal thing, right? The Amar, excuse me. No. Yeah, the Zalavidita. No. I made a mistake here. I confused the 2 pshitas. Excuse me. Sorry. What I said now is we're going to say later. I'm repeating, reviewing, and correcting myself. Lo itzricha. The Zal Avidita, when did that happen? In the night between Sunday and Monday, in my story. Sunday, they did the job of 1 selah, which is half the job. They came home, and what? The work became cheaper. Originally, I promised them 1 selah per half a dress, right? Now, all of a sudden, midnight news, break news, the laws changed, the norms changed, and all of a sudden in the middle, what's going on now? Prices went down. The minimum wage went down, and now there's less money for me, the balabais, to pay. Had I hired new workers now, I would have paid less. I'm the balabais, I'm the friar, I'm paying people with the old price, which is expensive. The Ema balabais, just the opposite. The balabais is now going away, playing it hard, and saying, what? Excuse me, guys, don't come back tomorrow. Yeah, you don't have to come back tomorrow. And who has the upper hand according to Rabbi Doisa? The boss. Capitalism. Yeah, the balabais. The balabais may be able to say, I'm sorry, I don't want to stick to the old price. I'll pay the 1 selah, finished. From now on, don't come to work with the old expensive high price. I can get new people for lower price. The ozil poilim ipaisu. Now the ones bending on their knees are who? The workers. The workers say, please, I don't have what to eat. I need milk and bread for my children. Hi. So please help, please keep hiring us. Let's continue the job. Ma'odetema, one could have said, Matzi Omer Lehu, maybe now the balabais could tell them, and now they're on their lower hand. One would have suggested, well, you begged so hard to come back to work, and you know very well that the reason why I told you to go is because of cheaper price. Nothing against you or the color of your skin or your kippah. You're nice guys. But Lamaisa, what? You are what? You're too expensive. Isn't it clear that I'm bringing you back on condition you take the new lower standard price? Kamash Malan, no, we don't say that. The Amri Lay, they can tell him no. It's true that something has to change. We begged you and you agreed not start to do Bal Chesed, not a Chesed organization, but we thought that the reason why you allow us back in is in order that we should do a better job. Yeah? In other words, we'll stick to the same high price. It makes sense. We'll stick to the old price, our price, which is the older, higher price. You feel kvetch, you feel Freilkeit, you feel I could have done better, we'll do a better job. Yeah, I don't know if they did or they didn't, by the way. That's also a shaila if you can measure it. But Lemaisa, you can't say that he told them lower price and accept a lower price. No, even according to Rabbi Doisha, which says that they don't have so many rights, they do have the right to maintain the old price. Either was give and take. That was about the quality of the work. It wasn't so much about the price. And that is the chiddush that if they started with two sloim, they maintain and continue two sloim even through all these, troubles and tribulations. Now, you okay? You're good. Oh, there are different levels of work. There are different levels. If you pay high, you expect more. No. It's nice. I guess in England, service is so good. Everybody does magnificent, perfect jobs. Maybe even in England, no, you pay more. You're supposed to get more. Pay less. No, there are standards. I don't. It's an official question break now. Weiter. Okay, one more. Weiter. Good questions. Let's continue. Okay. Yeah. Now, Sela Noisenla and Sela. The last part of Rab Doisa's word is what are the words? The same as Chachomim, by the way. If originally they were promised 2 sloim per the job, right? Half the job is 1 Sela. They did half the job, they get 1 Sela. Pshita, of course. What's a Chiddush? Half of 2 is 1. They did half the job, they get 1 Sela. Answers the Gemara again. The opposite of what we said before. Before it's Rabban, now it's Rabban. Remember, what does Rab Doisa, what does Rab Doisa say? Who is he for and who is he against? He says, Yad Poel ala Tachtoino. Yeah? Rab Doisa believes that a Poel, a Kablan especially, cannot just go back on his word and his work in the middle of the day, in the middle of the project. Omer Avuna Bered of Nosan. Lo Itzricha, there's a Chiddush over here. The Oizilu inu gabe zuze meikore. Originally, the going rate was let's say a sela and a quarter. Everybody else takes a sela and a quarter. Okay, that's the going rate in town. They gave him a good price. They went down. Yeah, knowingly or unknowingly, they gave him one. They're going to charge him 1 zuz less, which means what? The sela that they're charging per half a job is less than the going rate. Belasoif, at the end of one day, the end of let's say half the project, Zal Avidata, everybody else now charges only 1 sela, right? Beforehand, the normal rate was how much? A sela and a quarter, and they took a sela, 1 quarter less, and now prices went down, prices went cheap, and now everybody takes only 1 sela. Mal detema, one could have said, Botzir Zuzah Amrituli, Botzir Zuzah Vinalachu. Maybe Balabais can tell them, listen, guys, I'm not going to give you a sela. I didn't promise you a sela. I promised you, again, a formula, a mathematical formula. Whatever everybody else takes, minus a zuz. Beforehand, that ended up with how much? A sela. Now that everybody else takes a sela, so everybody minus a quarter is how much? 3/4 of a sela. Maybe now I won't give you a sela for the half. I'll give you 3/4. Why would the Balabais apply such an interesting way of looking at it? Because Yad Poel Tachtoino, the Poelim are on the losing side. Kamash Malan, he cannot say that. The Amri Lei, the Poelim would retort to him and say, no. You know when we told you we're willing to work for a sela, which then was 1 zuz less than the normal, you didn't know. You didn't know about the going rate. You didn't know about the prices. Don't be smart with us and start making cheshbonos. You naively gave us how much? You gave us less. You gave us a sela because that was the agreement, without the context of everybody else in the story, what other people take. Hashtakim lach. Now you got smart all of a sudden. Now you looked at the new prices and you make your new cheshbonis, which are a bit krum, and now you're telling us, really, I always owe you less than normal. No. We agreed on a seller. You give us a seller, meaning you didn't promise us a formula. You didn't promise us what everybody else takes minus. No, you promised us a seller. Give us a seller and don't play games. That's halacha. We don't say ad up until now. Everybody here is asking, let me give you a small introduction, which you gave me. Everybody here is bothered in different ways by the fact that here we don't talk about poyalim. What's a poyal? We already learned many times in the past few days. The poyal is the person who gets paid per hour, per day, per time, per minute, whatever. Yeah, that's a worker. A poyal is also called schir yoim. Schir yoim is a kol beinik, is a jack of all trades, and poyal is trained for one thing. But they all both get paid per hour, per day, per time. What's a kabbalan? Per project. Very nice. Now, you guys are all sensing something here, and I like it. You say, wait a minute, this is not a poyel, right? What the Gemara says in Daf Yud Amud Aleph about workers' rights, the Gemara says a poyel, a day laborer, he can stop in the middle of the day, right? Does it apply also to kablan, or doesn't it apply to kablan? According to Tanakama here, we clearly see and understand it's bothering you. That's a machlokes. Tanakama here believes that even a kabbalan may leave in the middle of the job. Wow. Although he is meant to be paid per project, he can not only change, my dear friend parents, he can actually leave in the middle of the day. Yeah, can stop the sewing machine, the how's it called, the zinger, whatever. Stop the thing and say, I'm going home, goodbye, workers' rights. I'm not your slave. Where's the t-shirt? Libnei Yisrael Avodim. Yad Bala Lioina. What? And claim money for the work he's done. That's Chachamim, even by Kabbalan. Wow. While Rabbi Doisa says no. Rabbi Doisa seems to argue and say, no, a poil cannot just, leave you high and dry. And he seems not to believe the pasuk that says, the drasha that says, Libnei Yisrael Avodim. Now, we have to now see the differences between Kabbalan and poil and see how far did Rabbi Doisa go. And after a few lines from now, you can ask your questions again, okay? Amar Rav. Let's see how the Gemara tackles it. Says Rav. Rav is an Amoira, an early Amoira. And he wants to tell us what's the halacha. Halacha Rabbi Doisa. Says Rav, halacha like Rabbi Doisa. What does that mean, halacha Rabbi Doisa? Practically, tell me anybody. That a poel may not go back in the middle of the work, right? And may not demand money. He may demand money for just what he did, but, Ellen, he may not demand money if it causes loss to Balabais, right? According to Rabbi Doisa, if I worked and I demand my seller, but Balabais says, because of you, I had to pay more for other people, right? Then I won't give you a seller. I'll give you only whatever they didn't take. Maybe I'll give you 1 shekel if they took 99 shkolim, right? Says Rav Rabbi Doisa, Frag the Gemara, Miyomar Rav Hachi. Did Rav really say that poila l'tachton l'kabdoisa? V'amar Rav, listen to this. Rav is the one who said the original statement. While yochel lachzer b'afil b'chatzi hayom. Here's a line I kept quoting. Rav is the one who says in our Maseches in Daf Yud, Rav says that a poil may go back in the middle of the workday, even in the middle of the work. He can leave work and do whatever he wants and take full salary for what he did. So Rav is contradicting himself, not me. It's Rav is contradicting himself and saying what? On one hand, Rav said, and Rav is the one who says Paul can go back, and Yod can go back and take all the money that he deserves. So Rav is contradicting himself. What could be a very easy answer? Anybody? The chitema, shiny leilu Rabbi Doisa, ben schirus lekablanus. Oh, that would be a terrific answer. And by the way, that's the answer we stay with. I'm telling you the end of the story, which means lechor there's no stira. Wet schirus and kablonus. What's schirus? A poil. Poil sochir gets paid per hour per day, and he may leave in the middle of the work. He may leave in the middle of the work day, and who believes in that? Rav and Rabbi Doisa. Oh, Rabbi Doisa is not against workers' rights, Chalila. Rabbi Doisa is telling us what? That when it's a sochir, he may leave in the middle of the day, because a poil that gets paid per hour may leave whenever he wants. A kablan who gets paid per project may not leave, and he's obligated to stay until he finishes the project. And if he steps out in the middle, he'll have to lose. Sometimes he'll have to lose the result of that. And therefore, Rav is not contradicting. Why is that true? What's the logic behind saying that a kablan may not leave in the middle? You would say because the Balabai says left high and dry in the middle of the project. No, that's not what Rashi says. Rashi says you have to read this inside. It's just too delicious not to read inside. Says Rashi, look at the last Rashi, unbelievable. Look at the last wide lines, the very last lines in the Amud. Says Rashi, Shana b'schirus l'kablonus. The gabi schirus, the person who gets paid per hour per day, isa lehai time. There's the reason exists of the avodahem v'lo avodim la'avodim. Don't be a slave for another person. Yeah, if the boss tells you, like in China, they close the doors, everyone has to stay the day and night, lolin. The boss tells you, okay, you're not in China, Baruch Hashem, but between 9 o'clock in the morning till, 6 o'clock in the evening, you're here and you have to do the work in the field, and that's it. You're mechuyev to me. That's like being like a slave. You can't go out in the middle, even if you paid good money. Aval bekablanus, listen to this. Here comes a crescendo. Ein ze eved elo le'atzmoi. A kablan works for himself. A freelancer who sits with a computer and does what? Torah editing, working. And he works per project, not per hour. Yeah? You pay a person to write your life story. You have a good life story, right? You pay someone how much? You pay 20,000 pounds to a writer to write your life story. She will write it whenever she wants. She can work 12 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock in lunchtime, whatever, as long as she done the job at the end of the year, she can do whichever time she wants, right? I'm telling you reality, yeah? Mimela, that's not called that she's enslaved to you. She's enslaved to herself. She is now clicking in hours for the book that she's writing for you. But you're not standing over her hours, and you don't mind if she does it in half a year or an entire year, as long as she meets the deadline, right? Therefore, that's not called being a slave to the boss, according to who? Oh, Rabbi Doiso, continues Rashi, Bekablanus Mayri. You know when Rabbi Doisa says that the poel may have to stay, he's not really a poel. When is Rabbi Doisa says you got to stay there because you're not a slave of the boss, you're a slave of yourself. Therefore, be honest with the boss. Be honest and don't leave him high and dry. Don't tell me I'm enslaved. You're not enslaved. You do the work wherever you want. You can take your laptop and work on the book here or in the coffee shop or in a shared space, right? What's the problem? That's not called being an Eved, according to Rabbi Doisa. Therefore, says Rabbi Doisa, Kablan, because he's not an Eved, that's why he's more committed, can't leave in the middle, right? But Sheikh in a Poel, Rabbi Doisa would say, the Rav, Beschil Yoim. When did Rav say statement that everybody agrees to? Schil Yoim. Rav said, don't be a slave. Don't be a friar. You may leave work in the middle of the day. You know when that is true? In a Poel. So Lemaisa, let's summarize what we're trying to say now. Mechloik, everyone agrees. Everyone agrees that a poel that gets paid per hour, per day, per time, per minute, what about him? May live in the middle. It's a pasuk. What's the mechloikes chacham in Rabbi Doisa? Only about a kablan. It's a localized mechloikes about kablan only. So whatever you were saying, Rabbi Isai, about changing the terms in the middle, Rabbeinu Peretz, that is a question. There was a havamina. You may change in the middle according to Chachamim, because Chachamim do view Kablan as an Eved who may change in the middle. Havamina, if you can drop the whole thing, surely you can change the condition. You thought like a Redoisa, a Kablan, what do you mean? You pay per project. Chachamim don't see it that way. Chachamim don't care about him being a Kablan. They still say he can drop in the middle. Let alone he can change. Havamina, he can change conditions too, okay? The truth is not like that. I'm giving you the real end of the story. Shulchan Aruch, I saw twice, Paskins and Kabbadoisa, meaning that a poil may drop in the middle, free spirit, middle of the day, and get paid fully for what he did. Mashenkin the Kablan may not. The truth is, I'm not being fair now because it's a long journey until we get there. But for now, the Gemara, by the way, the Gemara is now asking it as a question. What I'm telling you is the fact the Gemara is suggesting now 1 minute. The Gemara says, do we really differentiate between Schirus and Kablanus? And I was elaborating on that. Okay, questions now. The last session of questions for today, please. Corner. I want to tell an interesting fact. Let's stop for a second. I saw this in the Noisikelim Shulchan Aruch. Machlokas Rishonim, if a person is allowed to hire himself for over 3 years to another Jew, even with the best conditions, an au pair. Let's say a Jewish girl wants to work as an au pair for someone in London, let's say, and she signs a contract for 3 years. Some Rishonim say that could be halacha, you're not allowed, even with the best conditions and they're so nice and gentle to her. Why? Because it says in the Novi that 3 years is the term of Eved. You're going to ask now, no, it's 6 years. It's interesting. The Torah says, Mish neschar sochir avodcho. 6 years is kilu 2 terms of avdus. When a person is a slave, yeah, not a slave, you don't like to use the word slave. When a person is an Eved Ivri, either because he stole or because of this, then you give him kilu the, 2 terms, 3 and 3. But the standard halachic time of an Eved is 3 years. So if you are committed for 3 years in advance, in a way that you cannot stop. Yeah, you're supposed to be there for 3 years. That's not allowed, according to some, because that heskem alone, even though that's a she will leave, run away in the middle. But to have such an agreement, I will be mechuyev to stay by you for 3 years is a question. Interesting. People sign work contracts for 3 years. It's an interesting halachic question. Ask your local Orthodox dayan. Okay, we really have to continue now because we're being behind in the schedule. Frag the Gemara. What did we try to say? Now, what are we attempting to say? That Rabbi Doisa differentiate between schirus and kablanus. When it comes to schirus, you may drop in the middle. Kablanus, you're not such a slave, you're not allowed to drop in the middle. Is that so? Is it true that Rabbi Doisa differentiates between them? Batanya, let's read the following brisa and see how that works with our context. A person hired a poil, not a kablan, right? A poil. Yeah, come to me, 10 hours, 50 shekels an hour, come and work in my field. Middle of the day, the worker got a terrible WhatsApp SMS. What? Somebody died. Your mother died. Fever. He got sick in the middle of the day. What are these called? Starts with an aleph. Oinsin. Very good. It's an oines. Im sochiru. Oh, if this person is a sochiru, he's paid per hour. Nois and law is choroi. If it's a regular sochir poel, what do? You give him the work he did up until now, and he's allowed to go. He's allowed to go free, and you give him the full payment of what he did up until now, without subtracting anything, even if I end up paying more to the other guy. In kablanu, if that guy is not paid per hour, I say do that 1 kilometer of wheat and harvest it 1 whole kilometer, 4,000 shekels. You give him the entire kablanus or half the kablanus without deducting anything. Why? Misken is an oines. Because he's an oines, that's why he's allowed to leave in the middle of the day. Yeah? Take them more money. Who's the author of that interesting brisa? Ilem Rabbanon. If you want to tell me it's Rabbanon, then what's the story? Rabbanon said what? What did Rabbanon say? Rabbanon of Rabbi Doisa? That yad poel al yoina. A poel can always go back, and a kabbalan can always change his mind. My area the onis. Why giving me these dramatic stories that somebody died, he has fever, and he's an oines, and that's why he can go, and he has the right to go and be fully paid. Kilo anis nami. Even without an oines, even if he just feels like becoming a clown in the circus in the middle of the day and follow his dream, or he wants to just meet his friends in the yeshiva, then what? Still, Chachamim always said you can change in the middle. When I said fully paid, not the whole day, he can get fully paid for the half that he did. So Chachamim are not the authors of the brisa at this brisa. Elala Rabbi Doisa. Must be Rabbi Doisa is the one. What did Rabbi Doisa say? Rabbi Doisa is the one who normally said a poel is not a lelioino, only if it's an oines. V'shmamino. Look at the brisa. Lo shani Rabbi Doisa ben schios lekablonus. Let's understand the attempt for proof. What are we trying to say now? This brisa must be Rabbi Doisa, because Chachamim don't need the oines. What did Rabbi Doisa say? If the guy, which guy? Both Sochir and Kabbalan, both of them, if they're onus, if they're really, someone died, he has to run to the Levaya, he feels bad, emergency room, then he can stop in the middle, but both Sochir and Kabbalan, and the Sochir even, so you see there, Rabbi Doisa believes that unless it's an oines, even a Sochir mentioned in the Brisa is not allowed to leave. Oy vay voy. So you see that Rabbi Doisa is against the entire concept. We see Rabbi Doisa, not like we said, says even a poil, unless onus, he's not allowed to go in the middle, and if yes, he has to absorb the loss. So it's Stira and Rav. Back to the contradiction in Rav. Rav on one hand said pro the poil, and then he believes Rabbi Doisa, which is against the poil. Calm down. We're talking here, bedover ha'avud v'divrei ha'koil. Very good. Another, and you all know that already, that other factor that you all know about. No. Really, Rabbi Doisa differentiates between kablan and a poil. Calm down, please. As we said before, and that's Allah and Shulchan Aruch, a kablan may not stop in the middle, a poil may stop in the middle, and my name is Rabbi Doisa. Why are you dramatic about oines? We're talking there about over oved. The guy is now what? The guy is now taking the flex out of the water, and if he doesn't take the flex pieces out of the water now, they're going to rot and smell, right? It has to be done now. Oh, everybody agrees that poel, kablan, rabdoisa, chachamim, any way, shape, and form. If you leave work in the middle and the work is time sensitive and urgent, everyone agrees that you get fined harshly, right? The other guy can mislead him, can get another guy to work for thousands more. Oh, the Brisa said that if the guy who left his urgent job in the middle is an oinus, then you don't find him. The guy is in the middle of the chasana playing the. I heard of such a story, almost kind of. The guy's in the middle of playing the chasana. In the middle of the music, let's say whatever, chas shalom, he leaves because his father died. Yeah, he got a message. Your father was nifter. Right now, Levaya. Are you going to punish him? No. I have to get another guy. He's an oinus. He's an oinus. Yeah, that's the story. Nimeli doesn't reflect our sugya. And we are back to square one. When it's a normal job, not an urgent job, we'll differentiate between a kablan and a poil according to Rabbi Doisa. So 1 second, please. The divra hakol, the divra hakol, Tnan, okay. No, that maybe we should leave for tomorrow. Let's leave that, not tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday, and then Shabbos, Sunday. Next week, Be'ez Hashem, we're going to learn Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Preparing for Kabbalah Torah Shavuot. So exciting to be Mekabel the Torah once again. Thank you so much for everybody here. YouTube, for any time. Stay with us in the Amud Yomi every day. We are going to give Shiur Metzia Hashem Sunday about Serch in Ein Zayin Amud Beis. It's right here. See you then and watch us online. Thank you. Kol Tuv.